Bit. Right now, we welcome in our all-star political panel. For the first time on this Wednesday morning, we start with our White House correspondent, Emerald Robinson. Former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Betsy McCoy, back with us today. Political analyst Mark Halperin with us, and Project 21 Advisory Board member Christopher Arps also here, along with constitutional attorney Amir Benno, who did not get any sleep last night as we continue to dive into the constitutionality of this impeachment, this drive-by impeachment. Yesterday, Amir, the vote came down pretty decisively. 56 to 44 in favor of impeachment. Many Republicans that we assumed would side with the Democrats, Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, voting that, yes, this is constitutional. But Bill Cassidy in Louisiana voted that this was constitutional to move forward. I want to play you a soundbite from the Louisiana senator talking about the importance of this impeachment.
The House managers were focused. They were organized. They relied upon both precedent, the Constitution, and legal scholars. They made a compelling argument. President Trump's team were disorganized. They did everything they could but to talk about the question at hand. And when they talked about it, they kind of glided over it, almost as if they were embarrassed of their arguments.
All right, so Amir, we'll start with you then, panel. I want to go right around the room here this morning. Do you think that the House's managers yesterday made a compelling enough argument to convince Cassidy, and do you think others will follow after the next few days?
I think it was compelling. I think the House managers did a fine job. They were organized, well structured. I don't think that the Trump's team was embarrassed of their arguments. I found that they were unfocused. Well, I shouldn't say they. I found that Bruce Castor sort of meandered. It was hard to understand what his point was in the beginning. He didn't make any strong legal arguments or factual arguments. So it was unclear what the ultimate purpose was. I think also the team together got a little lost in the weeds, too much on the scholarly issues surrounding the textual arguments, and they could have focused more on Senate precedents. They could have talked about the intent of the framers. They could have talked about the policy objectives that are served by impeachment and how those can be served just as well by Department of Justice criminal prosecution. Yeah. They didn't go there.
Emerald, jump in.
Sorry, I was going to say to Amir's point, he didn't know what Bruce Castor was doing. Well, I asked a Trump advisor during that how they felt it was going, and I was told that Castor's going on the way he did was actually part of a very clear deliberative strategy. They were attempting to lower the temperature in the room after that emotionally charged video that the Democrats, impeachment managers, put together and showed, but that's not really how it came across, I would say, to people watching.
That's interesting.
And I'll just say on that point, and I don't want to cut off anybody else, but this was supposed to be just an argument about jurisdiction and whether the Senate had jurisdiction. For them to play the video of it really didn't go to that. That was more of a merits-based argument. And so, that I think was improper at this stage.
Betsy, let's go to you then. Chris, you're up.
Let me point out that if this were a college debate contest, right, the smoother presentation was made by the Democrats, and they would win this contest. But that's not what this is about. Let's not lose sight of the big picture here. The big picture is that the trial is unconstitutional, that the FBI has unearthed considerable evidence that the actual attack on the Capitol was planned long before the president gave his speech, and that the president was exercising his First Amendment rights. Those 3 points will come across again and again in the trial, no matter how disorganized this initial presentation may have seemed to some people viewing it. And the other point that we must remember is this: how bad Joe Biden looks in all of this. He looks kind of like the mob boss saying he has no idea what's going on while his people are doing the dirty work. He's sitting over there in the Oval Office and refuses to talk about impeachment. But the fact is, he promised this nation unity, and he is allowing something to go on that will produce exactly the opposite of unity. It's the president who's going to come out looking very good from this.
Betsy, I want to bring Chris in here. Emerald, I'm really fascinated by that, because if anyone's ever covered a trial, defense attorneys, there is a lot of theatrics to what they do. So if they changed their plan, we know they changed their plan in the middle of the game. They admitted to that when they first started speaking. They said, listen, we thought that the House's presentation was very well done, and then they immediately tried to sort of de-escalate. And I mean, David Schoen went on and on. He ended with a poem. I had no idea what was going on at certain points. It was very difficult to follow. Chris, do you think that was deliberately done by skilled defense attorneys?
You know, it's no secret that the majority of the members of the Senate are what we call senior citizens. And I think after yesterday's presentation, maybe it was their plan to put the members to sleep. It was very disjointed. It was very hard to follow. You knew it wasn't going well when one of the prosecutors said he was the lead, or one of the counsel said he was the lead prosecutor instead of the lead counsel. Amir's correct. The Democrats did put on a very good performance yesterday. They did what they do very well, which is tug at people's heartstrings. And I believe that the 13-minute video yesterday did just that.
Mark, your turn finally, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Look, both these sides have arguments to make, but that was the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. It was not a fair fight. And I think whoever was in charge of preparing that team let down the former president. That was not a performance worthy of the office he held. And I think it probably is not going to affect very much in terms of public opinion. Certainly isn't going to affect very much in terms of how the senators vote. But that was a performance that I don't think anybody who watched it could say was good. And Donald Trump wasn't happy with it, and most of the Republican senators weren't happy with it, and those are audiences that matter here.
So the one thing Donald Trump, Emerald, does have is he's got the truth on his side, I think. But I think it's very clear the president was not pleased with that performance yesterday. What are you hearing?
No, he definitely wasn't. I think they had a good cop, bad cop they were trying to run routine between Castor and Schoen.
Instead, we just had two bad cops?
I do want to talk a little bit about the facts, because in that video, while it was well done and emotionally charged, it was also selectively edited, the Democrat video, in that you'll notice they left out the part where Trump, which is really the crux of the defense's argument, said during his rally speech to go peacefully to the Capitol. They purposefully edited that out, and that's pretty deceptive, and that's a big point to make. And a lot of people who are watching that at home, who might not, might watch only certain media, wouldn't know that necessarily.
Let me play a moment that I did think hit home, and I think that, Emerald, of course we've seen that Donald Trump saying to go peacefully many times.
A lot.
And I'm going to keep playing it, by the way, because I think the case rests on that. But Attorney Schoen yesterday, David Schoen, he did make a very good point when he talked about disenfranchised Americans. Take a listen.
A great many Americans see this process for exactly what it is: a chance by a group of partisan politicians seeking to eliminate Donald Trump from the American political scene and seeking to disenfranchise 74 million plus American voters.
And Chris, I think that's what it's all about right there, is that, it's not like this is a small group of people. It's 74 million people that voted decisively on November 3rd.
This is what it is all about. We heard reports earlier when the prior defense team was fired that they did not want to go into the election and the things that were surrounding it, and that was the reason that they were let go. So, yes, it's very, very important.
Amir, as an attorney, quick question here, and if you can keep your answer tight, I want to get back to Betsy and Mark. But the presentation yesterday, I think the criticism is, especially on David Schoen's part, it just seemed like it was unfocused. Is that the case? Do you think that he was kind of, I don't want to say flying by the seat of his pants, but was he improvising it all out there?
David Schoen, no, I don't think he was improvising. I just think he had a lot of material to cover in a short amount of time to do it. Bruce Castor ate up a lot of his time. Again, he spent too much time talking about the textualism arguments. He should have really hit home on the precedent, because that's something that the House managers sort of glided over, just talking about two prior cases. There was a lot more fertile ground to cover in that area. But again, I don't know that any of this would have swayed the ultimate result with the senators.
And this is just the opening arguments, Betsy. We're going to hear a lot more. But yesterday I wanted to get to the constitutionality, and I wasn't convinced that Trump's team did that. I definitely wasn't convinced that the Democrats did that, even after that Hollywood production of a video they put on.
Well, that's right. The constitutional argument is very strong on Trump's behalf, despite what was omitted from yesterday's argument. And the fact is, never once in American history has a former official been removed and punished the way they're proposing in American history. It's never happened before. There is no precedent for this.
Yeah. Mark, final thought?
Look, I think today is going to matter more than yesterday because we will get more into the heart of the argument. And starting at noon, the impeachment managers are going to have a chance. They say they have some new stuff to show. But this is a little bit of a kabuki because, while one senator switched one procedural vote, the other Republican senators had once said that the president's lawyers were bad and the managers haven't changed our minds.
Yeah. By the way, David Schoen, when he was taking a drink of water throughout his prepared statement there, he kept touching his head, and there was a lot of progressive rancor on Twitter about that, and I'll tell you guys more about why he was doing it. There is a reason. It wasn't a nervous tick or something like that. I'll tell you more about that at the top of the hour panel. We got to leave it there. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. A lot to talk about today for sure. Thank you.